Hello everyone, my name is Creepy and welcome to the Draft League Q&A episode 18. I'm here today with JOEDOR. How you get?
What's up, guys? How you doing? JOEDOR here.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. How and when did you start to play the Draft League format?
So I started with the draft league format. I'd been watching the GBA since I want to say season 4 when it had kind of come back. And then they put out the D League app. I applied, didn't get in. So my friend PokeTroll, along with Cyber Nightmare, Pokeballer Luke, Jerry Oak, Sonic Brawler, the 6 of us went and founded the NPA, which a lot of people are now familiar with for a couple of reasons.
How long was it ago?
That would have been, let's see, fall of 2015. So just about 2 years ago that all happened. I probably would have applied for the D League that summer when, I guess.
Okay, so what are your accomplishments in the Draft League format?
So in draft league format, throughout 3 seasons of the NPA, I've made to the playoffs all 3 times. Granted, there's a little bit of controversy on the third one because I had less than a 50% record, but it's made it all 3 seasons of the NPA. And so far, I'm halfway through running the Pokemon for Glory leagues, their season 2 recap show with Basic Gamer. So I'd call that an accomplishment because it's a big show with another creator.
Very nice. So what was your best season in any league or tournament you've been in?
That would probably be a tie between NPA Season 1 and Season 2. They both were 7-win seasons, but Season 2 we added 2 more weeks, so I guess technically Season 1 was better. Actually, yeah, I will say Season 1 was better, because not only, they got the same amount of wins, but I got 2 6-0 blowouts in Season 1, so that was good times. Good time.
Okay, what was your favorite draft to use?
What was my favorite draft that I've had?
Yep, basically.
Well, it would also be my Season 1 because by the time I had finished making trades, I have to preface that the Season 1 was an unlocked draft, so it was a free draft. There were no tiers at that point, at least that we were using. So the only downside is that you had a lot of coaches drafting a lot of high OU upper UU Pokemon, and then there were people that were drafting evolution teams and drafting kind of stuff all over the place because they liked it. So I gotta give a disclaimer that this team was a little bit more overpowered than some of the others. But by the time I had finished the draft, or by the time I had finished my transactions mid-season, I had Charwy, Weavile, Conkeldurr, Milotic, Gliscor, Fortress, Jellicent, Latias, Scrafty, and Celebi. So it was a very powerful team, and it's no surprise to anyone that it went 7-5 or that season 7-3. Excuse me.
That's a very good team.
Yes.
Yeah,
It was.
about free drafts, I've seen people doing free draft, and the worst one is Gliscor or something. It's free draft is overpowered.
Yeah. Free draft is a little overpowered.
Just a tiny bit. Okay. So when you start a new league, how do you plan a draft? What are the most important parts in a good draft? What makes a bad draft a bad draft?
So, what makes a bad draft is that it's flawed in that you weren't able to get your checklist checked off. When I'm building my checklist for what I want in a draft, I know going in that regardless of anything else, I want some kind of type core, fire, water, grass, dragon, fairy, steel. If I'm lucky, a double core. And if I'm even luckier, a double core with fewer than 6 Pokemon. So if I get a Heatran or an Empoleon or a Whimsicott or something like that, then I only need to fill 4 more Pokemon to fill the rest of that core. So you try to get a double core filled, checking off as many boxes of okay, here's my rocker, here's my spinner, here's my wall, here's my big wall, here's my setup sweeper, you just try to check off literally as many of those as you can so that no matter what happens, you're at least, it's going to be hard for you to run up against an opponent that has something that you physically can't beat. in any way, no matter what happens. So it helps when there's, especially now that there's Z moves everywhere, it helps when there's Pokemon with really good, I guess, status moves that can be implemented with, used with Z moves. I guess it depends on the league, really, because some leagues have like Z captains, others don't, so it really depends. I guess I'm talking specifically for a non Z captain league. Basically, just find stuff that can get the most, give you the most options all at once, because the more options you have at your disposal, the harder it is for your opponent to prep for you, and the easier you'll have prepping for them.
Okay, about that Hatred thingy, I got some mixed opinions about those, because when I started the format, I was like, okay, I need a Fire Dragon Steel and a Fire Water Grass. Let's do it in 3 months. And I picked up Fini, Zadex, and Fairphone. Do you think with this kind of cores are any good?
I mean, you have a double core in 3 months, so it's not bad. The only downside is that you're locked into that exact core every time. So people are going to be able to prep for those 3 coming every single week, assuming you want to have your type core. It's not a bad type core. I mean, you got your Water Fairy, you got your Fire Steel, or your Grass Steel, excuse me, you got your Fire Dragon. I guess the only thing is the team doesn't really have any Earthquake check, or that core doesn't have any Earthquake check, assuming you've already mega'd your Charizard. No Earthquake check, and well, actually, that's the only one I can really think of is the no Earthquake check. Other than that, everything else has a reliable switch in. So no, it's not bad at all. It's really not bad. My only thing would be 2 of those mons are setup fodder right away, both Fini and Ferrothorn. So you're going to be switching around to Char X quite a bit and leaving yourself exposed. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I can definitely see ways to pick it apart, because I can expect those same 3 showing up every time.
Yeah, I'm not talking about this specific 3, and I'm talking about getting this kind of cores, like getting like 1 typing from each core in 1 mon.
Yeah, you can, like, you're talking about having a 3 Pokemon double core. You can have, obviously you can have up to a 6 Pokemon double core or a 3 Pokemon double core. The one I like tends to be like a 5 Pokemon double core, just because it'll give me all of the coverage I want, yet I can still switch out to like 1 to 2 guys out of that core, and my opponent won't exactly know what's coming, or I can bring all of them and have an entire double core and then a 6. The only problem is that if I have a 6 Pokemon double core and it's not covered, like there's no overlap between those types, like I have 1 Fire, 1 Water, 1 Grass, 1 Dragon, 1 Fairy, 1 Steel, and none of them share any types, then if I want the double core, I have to bring all 6 of those every week, and that's not what I want to do. So a 4-mon double core or a 5-mon double core would be my personal preference, like one where I can at least swap out 1 or 2 whenever I want and still have a good core at the end of the day.
Okay. So, what is the most underrated Pokemon in a Draft League format, in your opinion?
Number 1 most underrated? That's always a tough one, but I'm honestly going to say Goodra for that. And that's because it was a Pokemon that the entire last season, everyone like kind of slept on. No one picked it up. It's gone up and down between tier 1 and tier 2 for us, over the course of the season. And it was at tier 1, so it didn't get drafted. A-Drive picks it up, and once he had that and he had dropped Minior, it was the final piece to let him go on a win streak and eventually win the whole league. So it was a nice, piece that completed a team. So definitely something that people need to watch out for.
Yeah, I was about to keep it as a secret because I want some special milestone. I want someone to interview me, but Goodra is my most underrated Pokemon too. I absolutely love Goodra. From the leagues I've used it, it's the best defensive Dragon type. Sorry, Dragon, but it's such a good mon. No one's. For leagues I'm in, it's under tier 2 in some leagues I'm in. It's actually ridiculous. So that's a steal. Okay, let's move on. What is the most overrated Pokemon in the Draft League format, in your opinion?
Overrated, Sylveon. That's kind of hands down in my opinion. Like, it's one of those Pokemon that people freak out when they see, yet especially now with Z-move users as a thing, it's so easy to overpower. You can bring a steel or a poison Z-move and you can kill it turn one if you really want to. I remember the Seattle Star Raptors had it this last season, and it got blown back many times over the latter half of the season, and that's kind of what led to that team's downfall.
Yeah, especially like in the NPA, you don't have the captains, right?
At the moment, yes, we're contemplating it for season 4,
Yeah.
but we haven't decided one way or the other on that.
Yeah, in leagues with no Z captains, yeah, Sylveon might be underwhelming some points. But in leagues like I never use Sylveon, but in leagues that don't have 3 or less Z captains, it's a threat.
Mm-hmm.
It might be just in the NPA or stuff like that, but Sylveon can be good. But as you said, with Z moves, it dies.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. What is your favorite Pokemon to use in the Draft League format?
My favorite would be Clefable. Kind of for, I guess, the opposite reasons of what makes Sylveon overpowered or overrated. Excuse me. Sylveon's a very mixed, but it ends up being a little more offensive. Fairy type. Clefable outbulks it in many ways and does a much better job of setting up if it wants to. It gets Thunder Wave off. It gets to be a pain in the ass. Gets rocks. And it gets reliable recovery that isn't Wish. So it gets to just sit there and be fat and doesn't need Protect to be an absolute monster. I used it in both NPA Season 2 and P4G Season 1. And I got most of those leagues to end up hating Clefable because of my use of it. So it tends to run a little stally. It's kind of hard not to when you're that fat and you have that recovery. But it's always meant to set up, or it's always meant to T-Wave. So I don't know. It's like a Pokemon that uses stall for relatively non-stall purposes.
Yeah, I picked up Clefable in another league right now. I'm excited to use it. It's a league that I'm picking up a lot of monsters that I never used and I want to use. I'm think I'm gonna do a draft analysis in a few weeks, but that's one of the ones. Okay, so this is a new question never asked before in the draft league format, in the draft league Q&A. But for me, draft league is all about team building, matchup, and the match itself. That's how you win a match. So I heard about team matchup with the drafts. I heard about tips, which is basically how to play. And now, how do you prep for a match?
How do I prep? So first of all, I prep with the front office. Sorry and Grace, Harris is awesome, and Ender Films and Sky Dragon were my most recent front office for last season. So the 5 of us, or 3 of us, however many of us are there at any one day, we'll get in a call. We'll review the type setup that's in front of us. We'll see, what's common weaknesses, etc. We'll calc out their speed tiers. So what they would be at max speed, what they would be at max speed with Scarf, and then we try to figure out where we lie in relation. And then once I've got that kind of prep done, I can then start trying to find a few good ways of driving a wedge, if you will, through any kind of type core. The way I was just looking at yours, and I was like, oh, well, it doesn't have a switch in for Earthquake. A banded Earthquake user can go to town on that. Come up with a few nice pieces of tech that can deal with that, whether it's tech or heat, whichever you want to call it, whether it's Z moves or something else entirely. And then we'll usually practice with the build or a couple builds that we have Harris on my staff is the best battler out of all of us, like in regular. Like he's been ranked on Smogon and stuff before. So I'll usually battle him and everyone else, but him specifically until I'm winning against him like 30, maybe 40% of the time. Because if I'm winning at all against him, that means I should be able to take this team and win against generic opponent coach in the league, because he's way better at the game than I am. So if like my matchup is that good where I can beat him, like I should be in a good situation.
Okay, so what is the most competitive league you've been in?
I mean, I've only been in 2. So I guess I'd probably be the NPA. No offense to the P4G. Actually, I say that P4G Season 2 now is really competitive, but P4G Season 1 was, it was its inaugural season, so it's still getting the kinks out. But probably Season 3 would be the most competitive, just because we've had tougher coaches than ever before. So like literally pretty much every single win that I got was a grind. Like there were no games that I was like handed, whereas like in Season 1 there were a few games I was like literally handed by misplays or something like that. So that was definitely the most competitive one I've been in so far, as this most recent season.
Okay, so who is the best player you have ever fought?
The best player I've ever fought? I mean, if we're just going straight off like championships or however, I guess the opponent with the best, resume, if you will, would probably be A Drive, because he beat me 4-0 handedly, like never had momentum that game. Had already won the GBA season and then went on to win that NPA season. So there are probably, there might be better battlers in the format, but at least as far as accomplishments, like that dude's got it on lock.
Okay, who is the best player you have ever beaten?
Best one I've ever beaten? I'd probably say T-Train for that one, just because I handed him his first L Season 3, and then he went on to play A-Drive in the finals. So I'm trying to think, is there anybody else that was incredibly good that I've beaten? I mean, Chris Cobain's really good, but I didn't beat him last season. Or Season 2. Yeah, no, T-Train's probably my go-to there. That's a fair answer.
Yep. What league you want to be in the most?
I mean, I like anyone, I found this format because I wanted to be in the GBA. So like, I guess in theory someday, but I'm more than happy running the NPA here. I don't really have too many ambitions beyond that. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. It is kind of funny though, because like I never got into the GBA yet. Like Magnitude, the commissioner, and I are like good friends, and we back and forth stuff about league crap all the time. So it's funny that ended up working out the way it did.
Okay, who is the best player in a draft league format in your opinion?
As of right now, from what I've seen, I would probably have to say Regulator. That dude has come in as a replacement coach on quite a few leagues and almost always goes to the finals. He's got 2 championships under his belt. He just missed out on a third by like a little bit of hacks, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the league specifically because it wasn't like the P4G or something. He's in the P4G now. I want to say he's undefeated so far with the team he has, and the dude is just a monster. Like as far as like battle prep and strategy. So like, it's only a matter of time, I think, until he gets a Big 3 title, a GBA, because he's in the GBA D League too now. So it's only a matter of time before he gets like a GBA title or a P4G title, or maybe he slots into the NPA or something like that, gets a title there, who knows. But I would not want to go up against him because I think I will just get my, booty smacked, and I'm not looking forward to that kind of a 5-0 loss that he'd probably hand me.
Yeah, my good friend Bass Techno, he's in his front office.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
His building skills are insane, like from what I've heard.
Yeah, and he helped A Drive prep the season he won the NPA, and it was this, which is why it was so funny because when I did the recap show, it was funny being able to talk about Greg going up against Dan, the former assistant coach versus the guy he assistanted for, and he just completely dismantled A Drive with a Z belly drum Azumaril. So off the back of a Trick Room Kafagrigus. So what? Okay. Jeez, that was one hell of a match.
Yep. Okay, final question. Do you have any tips for new draft league player?
Say that one more time.
Do you have any tips for new draft league player?
Oh, tips. Yeah, I guess when you're prepping your matches, try to find the nice medium between creativity and viability. Basically, it's kind of like you want to use both sides of your brain. You want to use your logical side and your creative side because you need something that's strong enough to succeed every week, but creative enough for your opponent to not expect it. So if you can master that, you'll win every single week. Or, bar hacks or something like that. But you get my point.
Okay, I got it. So, that was it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure.
Okay, for some odd reason, if you're not subscribed to JOEDOR yet, link is down below. If you want to see more videos like it, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching and scrape out. Bye.